in a month, right? From your passive income, what's the approximate number which you earn?
Broadly, depending on fluctuations and so on, I get about 4 to 5 lakhs rupees a month, which is what that takes care of my routine needs.
Currently, we are going to go more into it, but you sort of quit your job. You have your own sort of startup. So at this point in time, are you drawing any salary from the startup, or is that just like a passion project?
Oh, I am not drawing anything at all. On the contrary, there is only outflow at this point in time. But again, whether it is inflow or outflow, so long as it is planned and so long as you have anticipated, I think you're in good shape.
You are at a position where even without much inflow of money, you are sort of set where you are. You don't need anything more. How has that journey progressed? And is there a specific number there?
For a 25-year-old person, the word retirement sounds stupid. But, the world has its vicissitudes. Some people are blessed to retire at 70, 60. Others are forced to retire early. You just don't know. And therefore, you must be prepared all the time. And I want to give a formula for everybody to remember. And a couple of my friends and I worked on it while we were in Fidelity. If you want to know how much money I need to retire today, identify how much you need per month to spend. Let us say 1 lakh is what is your expense per month, multiplied by 400. So if you have 4 crores of rupees in the bank, then 1 lakh a month adjusted for inflation is available to you for the foreseeable future. This, of course, has certain assumptions. The assumptions are, I call this the 400 multiplier. The assumptions are you already have an apartment or a house to stay.
Right.
2, you are reasonably protected on your health care. That means you have some amount of insurance. Sure. And 3rd, you have kept aside money for life events. Like broadly, life events today are education and weddings. Right. Education in particular. So if those are taken care of, just for you to live, if you say, I can live comfortably with 1 lakh today, a 4 crore bank balance invested appropriately would allow you to carry on getting 1 lakh adjusted for inflation for a long time.
What about your spending habits, right? Would you categorize yourself as a spender? Would you categorize yourself as a saver? And has that changed over time? And currently, what's the state?
I think by nature, I'm a bit of a spender. So on my 50th birthday, I have a craze for cars. And when I had no necessity to buy a car, I bought a nice car, which I liked, which I could ill afford. So if you ask my father, he would say I'm a big spender. But if you ask my son, he would say my dad is very thrifty. So life is all relative, right, Nishant? So I would think, I'd like to say, and others need to be the judge, that I have a balance between spending and saving. Because I have saving to show to myself that I have covered myself reasonably for the rest of my life. In the past, when our parents, grandparents and all that didn't have as much scope, it was always income minus saving equals expense. Today, it has become income minus expense equals saving. Saving has become a variable. We need to look at that equation changing back to income minus saving. It need not be always so, but predominantly what you spend should vary. You should be able to cut down on a holiday. You should be able to cut down on an acquisition of a consumptive asset like a car or some white goods or something. But the saving within a range of 10-20% should be constant.
I think what we would like to know is your background.
I'm a hardcore Bangalorean, having stayed here for nearly 50 years. I did my engineering here, then got an MBA degree, a dual degree as I call it, because I got my MBA and my spouse as well from that institute. My career is interesting. When I first joined Wipro, I recall it was something of the order of 2,500 rupees. But one may scoff at that. But if you do a 10% compounding of that, that's equivalent to a salary of 1 lakh today. So it was not a bad amount at all.
Right.
From Wipro, when I joined Sun Microsystem, that was a big event for me financially because it was a 2x jump in salary. Not 2x on the starting salary of Wipro. The salary I had reached 8 years in my span at Wipro. So that was a 2x jump. In 2004-05, when Fidelity set shop, I joined. There again, I had a 2x jump. So I was the country head for their technology services. The leadership roles were in the range of about 300 to 500 US dollars as total compensation.
Now, what everyone would like to know, and especially me, is how do you actually invest your money? And over the years, how has that sort of allocation changed?
So today I have a breakup in asset allocation of 50% on equity,
Mhm.
25% on debt, 20% on real estate, and the balance 5 on gold and cash. But that is today. I keep altering it from time to time. But I do not have enough data and analytics to keep on checking on that. I have a very reliable, trustworthy investment advisor who tells me how to move this back and forth, depending on my requirement. But you need to know from which source I must withdraw every year, or every 6 months, or every 3 months. And accordingly, you design.
So how do you sort of deal with the expenses today?
I would say 60% comes from rental. This is my home. You're welcome to look around. We built this vertically, saying we cannot afford to buy land beyond.
Right.
And we have 6 apartments here. We said we'll let out 3 so that the maintenance of the house takes care of itself from the rental.
Right.
And the balance 3, we have it for ourselves. There was a time in 2000 in Bangalore that whatever you invested in real estate would only go up.
Right.
Unlike in the US, where the real estate market can actually go up and down. You could have negative appreciation and so on. So it was in that climate that I invested in real estate. But soon I found that that is no longer the case even in a city like Bangalore. If you pick and choose a particular project, like an Adarsh Palm Meadows, you get phenomenal returns on it. You choose another project, you may get 0 returns on it. However, there is an upside. Out of sight, out of mind is not a good thing in romance, but it's fantastic in personal finance. Sometimes it does pay. People ask, real estate is all down the dumps. Why should I invest in it? There's another reason to invest. When your funds are illiquid, you tend not to spend on it.
Right.
And then you may get a return of only 8%, but it would have accumulated to a large number because you never could lay your hands on it. So 60% comes from that. The balance 40% of that passive income comes from debt funds, which are not growth, but which allow for withdrawal quarter.
I think the key question there is, how did you sort of reach there?
I burnt myself substantially. In 1999, I remember getting excited with all the dot-com boom, buying all kinds of shares of which I had no idea what it was. And at one point in time, and it's worth mentioning this anecdote, my wife and I took a vacation to Goa. We stayed at the Taj village, and we said, we now have so much crores of money, and I think we can retire anytime we want. Little realizing that cash in hand is really what your worth is.
Right.
And within a matter of few months, there was a huge slide, and I had my net worth down to 1/4 of what it was.
Wow.
So by no means I've had it right. I've made many mistakes along the way. I would tell people that when you see trouble, seek advice first. In terms of how I safeguarded myself, I looked at what are all the things which I have to inflation proof. The first one, of course, was health. Therefore, I have tried to the best of my ability to take as much insurance possible in my name, my spouse's name, my children, my parents. And there, people must remember continuity is vital. My father is 94 today. If I forget to pay his premium, nobody will insure him again. And therefore, his insurance, I have painstakingly made sure there is continuity over the last 25 years. The same is true for me. As I cross 60, it's very important to maintain continuity and have a sizable, probably upward of 50 lakhs to 2 crores of healthcare. One mistake I did on an inflation proofing, I never realized travel can be very inflationary. From the last 4 to 5 years, especially with people talking of what a revenge travel and so on after COVID, travel and stay has inflated by over 100%. And therefore, I'm now regretting that I cannot travel as much as I thought I could because I did not plan for it. I've been rearing to go and see the World Cup final and Pakistan-India match in Ahmedabad.
Good luck getting the tickets, but
I managed to get the ticket, but I don't want to say how.
Or how much for.
Or how much for, exactly.
Can I say today that your passive income is sort of dealing with your expenses? or is there something else apart from that?
60% is passive income. The balance 40% comes from two areas. One, some amount of day and weekly trading.
Right.
I would not advise everybody to do it, but I work with my, broker, not my investment advisor, a broker separately.
Right.
And I do a little bit of trading back and forth. That's depends on each person's interest. Another 20% comes from my consulting and my training. And
So in this fantastic journey which you've had, right, have there been any regrets?
there have been many regrets. While I left Fidelity in a CXO position, there have been others who have done far better. So did I balance too much towards meeting my personal goals versus ambition, or was it the right balance? Is always a question that will plague me from time to time. It's not a regret, but it's certainly a question moving towards.
Right.
The second regret I would say is I have listened less than I have to from many people. Today, Nishant, I listen to youngsters a great deal. People call it reverse mentoring. Wisdom is not only from grey hat people like me. Youngsters have views which are very important. Elders have. So one must listen more, and I don't think I listen enough. As somebody said, God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you must use it in that proportion.
Right.
You must listen 2/3 and speak 1/3.
So, sir, now we've entered into this phase of your life where you're almost about 60, crossing 60. You still have goals. Right? So,
Yes.
what are these goals for this part or this phase of your life?
I think you retire on the day when you are not intellectually stimulated, not
Right.
on the day you stop earning. And therefore, I would hope that, with God's blessing, that I am fit enough to be intellectually stimulated, train, consult, and so on for the next 25 years. So I call it 2.0. Not an original term, but I like the term. So this is Jayesh Chakravarthi 2.0.